So that's how you make a still hologram, but can we then apply this to holographic movies? So 3D movies are massive right now. Two big blockbusters at the moment, The Hobbit and Life of Pi. Except the way that 3D is currently done, called stereoscopic 3D, doesn't actually give you the full 3D experience. It gives you that sense of depth, but it doesn't give you what's called parallax. That means if you move your head around, the view doesn't actually change with a 3D movie. Now, there is a way of doing this, and that's using holograms. Holograms were actually invented in the 1940s by Dennis Gaber. It earned him the Nobel Prize in 1971, but it wasn't actually until the 60s that they started doing holograms with light. Previously, it was with electrons, and that's because the laser hadn't been invented yet. So how does a hologram actually work? Well, if we go right back to basics and think of a photograph to start with. How do you make one of those? Well, you have an object, the subject of your photograph, and light bounces or scatters off of it. Now that light's probably from the sun or the flash in your camera. Now that scattered light is then going to go through a lens in your camera and then hit the CCD, if you've got a digital one, or if you're old school, a photographic plate. Then encoded on that photographic plate, you have the intensity of the light that bounced off of that object. Now there's actually one property of the light that we have missed. It's called the phase, and that's actually related to the distance the light has traveled from the object. We can't capture that in a photograph, but in a hologram you can, because the setup is slightly different. If you start off with a laser, you take the laser beam and you split it into two. One of those we're going to use as a reference beam, and the second one we're going to bounce off our object. So just like with a photograph, you have light bouncing off an object, which then hits a photographic plate. Great. What you need to do now, which is different from a photograph, is reflect that reference beam into that plate. What that's going to give you is an interference pattern between the two beams, and that is what allows you to capture the phase. And there you go, you've made a hologram. Except if you look at it with your naked eye, it's not going to look like what you expect, because what you need to take is your original laser again, or at least an identical one, and shine it into the plate that you've made. What that allows you to do is actually reverse the whole process. You can recreate the light that originally bounced off of the object. And that's why when you look at a hologram, it looks like it's actually there in full 3D, because you're recreating light that previously hit it. So that's how you make a still hologram, but can we then apply this to holographic movies? Well, it's actually at our technical limitations right at the moment. It's not as easy as you might think, but not entirely impossible. A group of scientists at MIT, for instance, have been able to recreate the famous Princess Leia scene. You know, help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Except it was kind of blurry, and also it was only at 15 frames a second. Now, if you think about normal movies, we do 24 frames a second, and Peter Jackson's a bit fancy and does 48 frames a second on The Hobbit. We're a bit of a way off to be able to make a convincing holographic movie. But it's certainly, in my opinion, the future of 3D.
If you'd like to see some other really cool stuff, like a woman trying to do a homemade light bulb just to save £1.50, then why not subscribe?